Hey folks, it's Lindsey Hullison with SPS back in the building, Sports Psychology Solutions, that is, here with my new best friend, that is Jase Harrison representing. Got a little
Yep.
time change going on. I'm representing right here in the good old Midwest United States, and it's important that I point that out because Jase has been so gracious with his time. It's not just dark outside, it's 11 p.m. because Jase is in London, United
Yeah.
Kingdom, representing dual citizenship all the way. But you're used to that lifestyle, whether it's London, the West Coast, all over. Jase, how you doing, man?
Yeah, no, I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
Good, man. Good. I appreciate you making time and making yourself available. Again, this is Lindsey Hullison with Sports Psychology Solutions. And Jase, I had a chance to run across your information based on me doing a follow up on the Association for Applied Sports Psychology. You and I are both familiar with that organization and members of it, if you will, ASP, that is. And you were doing what we call your presentations, what is the board poster board presentation, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
And talk about what the title of your topic was. I found that to be very intriguing.
Yeah. So, for my master's degree, I did a dissertation per project, and it mainly focused on athletes' perception of mental health, and then how that could potentially affect their overall career progression.
Yeah, man.
I was mainly looking at like elite U.S. male athletes, was who my target audience was.
No, it was an excellent topic. It caught my eye, and I appreciate you being so receptive that when I reached out to you to talk more about it, I'm glad. And you and I have had some dialogue, and that's been great. I guess one of the goals I have for this discussion, not only talking about mental toughness in sports and getting people to learn a little bit more about you and your travels, is just to really open people up to the importance of addressing issues with mental health. And I think
Yeah.
it wasn't your intent to come on here to be Mr. Courageous, but it says a lot. In my
Yeah.
practice as a sports psychology consultant, I must admit, man, the vast majority of clients that I have are young ladies. And I'm not saying that young ladies are more apt to have mental toughness or mental health issues, if you will. I just think that the young ladies and their team, referring to the people that are their support system, are more apt to come forward. And I think
Yeah.
you're doing a great thing with your experience. So what we'll do as we get going, if you can just let the listeners know just your story. We got an unlimited amount of time. If you will, just tell your story. And to anyone's tuning in, I'm just saying we welcome your questions or comments
Yeah.
for Jase or myself. And I want to shout out all your, Bark and Abbey crew, the London Lions, all those who are supporting you and whatever, whatnot. But just tell us your story.
Yeah. So, I started playing basketball at a young age. I knew that that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to do with my life, whether that was playing or just like working in the field.
Mhm.
Um, so I spent most of my time, like in the gym, training, basically just like doing everything that I can, to try and get the future that I wanted. But pretty early in my career, I had some obstacles. I just have like really bad knees. I just have like no cartilage in my knees. So I had knee surgery when I was 16, my first one. And then that's when I kind of started to understand, like the challenges that come with, trying to be an elite athlete, whether that's just like performance expectations or just, time away from family, or just like the pressure that you put on yourself at a young age. I started to get hit with all of that right after I had my first like knee surgery, and then as I got older and continued my playing career, I just got like more and more interested in the like mental aspect of sport. Even with my injuries, I kind of started to like see myself struggle more with like the mental side of things rather than the physical aspects. Like I had the skill, I had like the talent, but I found myself struggling mentally, whether that was with stuff on the court or off the court. So that's kind of when my passion for sports psychology started to come about. It was maybe my freshman sophomore year in college when I realized that I wanted to study psychology. And that was kind of during the same point where I was kind of doing like I don't know, I guess I could kind of say like a spiritual like transformation, like with myself. I was like challenging myself and like questioning my like mindset and my approach and just how and just kind of like my overall perspective on life. When I was younger, I was very like positive and optimistic, and like every day was like the best day ever. Like you couldn't be like you couldn't be more like in the moment than I was when I was younger. And then as I got older, I started to realize that a part of that changed, and I think it had to do with when I was in high school. My dad had passed away as well, and that also made me start struggling a lot with my mental health. And then as I got older, I started to realize that kind of the core like root of my stuff was starting to change, and then I started to challenge that. And through my own experience and my own like spiritual journey, I realized that sports psychology is something that benefited me. My own research, I started to use the tools that I was learning on myself, and then I started to realize that this could have an effect on other people as well. And that's kind of how my passion for sports psychology came about.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate you sharing that. And you shared so much in that introduction. And I think one of the key things I can take away from one, we do have that time where every day seems great, everything seems cool. And then, life kind of changes. And you talk about the trauma that comes with the injury, talk about the trauma that comes with, losing, a loved one, how traumatic that can be, even though we may try to suppress it, and how that can impact things. And finally, like you said, with the injury, it's so hard to bounce back from it because you got to go through your physical therapy. You're not, on the level that you want it to be, and you still have these other goals. So I think that's important. And again, I think that's another reason why so many young people can benefit from that. But let's talk a little bit more about after your injury, being 16, you still were able to do something that many people aren't able to do. You were able to continue your basketball career. Can you talk about the next steps that you took when that started taking place?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been like very like hard-headed and like pretty stubborn, which I think helped me when it came to like recovering from the multiple injuries that I had. Like I always wanted, when I was younger, I think it was more positive than it might be when it might have been more recently. But it always has like the mindset of like I have to prove myself, just because like I had all these setbacks, but I knew that like I could still be like an elite athlete, and I knew I could still play at a high level, and I knew that I could still have like a professional career. So when I was younger, that definitely like motivated me. Like I didn't want any excuse for me not to reach the level that I thought I would have reached, if there were no injuries, there were no traumas or like obstacles and stuff like that. And so that was kind of what helped me when I was younger. But then as I got older, I started to realize that like the mindset of having to prove yourself constantly can also end up being kind of a negative approach, because you're kind of not doing it for yourself in a sense. You're kind of working hard and trying to reach all these like milestones because you want to prove to other people that you can do it, when the point of why you're doing it in the first place was because you wanted to, or because you love the sport. And so as I got older, my mindset started to change, in the fact that like even with the injuries and even with like the stress and like whatever was coming with playing, I just knew that there was nothing else that I wanted to do more, if that makes sense. And so that's what motivated me with the rehabs and like the meditations and just like talking to people and wanting to reach out, was just the fact that like this is what I would choose to do, even if I knew that this is how it was going to go and that I would have knee surgeries and all that stuff. Like I still would have chose to play. So that's kind of my motivation for kind of how I still was able to succeed.
Yeah, you touched on so much in that part. I was just talking to some colleagues earlier about how difficult it is coming back from injury, and I like what you said about always trying to prove yourself may be a negative approach because you kind of get a chip on your shoulder, but it also can be something that can be self-defeating. So when you talk about the meditation, being mindful and that spiritual journey you went on, I think it's really positive because you have to get to a point in your life. I've done it several times where you have to have this reawakening. And I think so many times, I was talking about this on my podcast on Monday during my Monday motivation, we get caught up with these social norms, Jase, and we say, oh, I'm not going to do that. That's not cool. Or based on the people you have around you, you're not encouraging that. But if we're not growing internally, if we're not having these spiritual awakenings, it can really have us stuck a lot in life. So tell me about when you were going on these different individual journeys to kind of find yourself more. What was your support system like? And I'm saying that and asking that for other people who may be listening who can benefit from that. But talk about what your support system was like to help you with that.
Yeah, so initially it was kind of a lot of my own. I just knew that I wanted to challenge myself individually, and I knew that life in a sense wasn't supposed to be as hard as it was. So like that was kind of me just wanting to like challenge myself and like overcome these like mental hurdles that I put up on my own. But then as I started to like go down that path, I reached out to a ton of people, whether it was like my college coaches who were luckily like very open with like mental health stuff. Like they handled it all like really well, and they're like very open with the team, and they encouraged everybody to reach out and even talk with each other like as a team. So that was nice for me because I know a lot of people don't have that experience, especially at the undergrad level, where their coaches and like the culture of their team encourages like openness and like honesty. So like that helped. I also reached out to my professors a lot. As I got older, I started realizing that like psychology was what I wanted to do. And I think something that helped me was that I grew passions outside of like literally just playing the sport, if that makes sense. So rather than just like identifying as like an athlete, I was now like starting to identify with psychology and wanting to learn more about that and see how I could use that and apply that to this other identity that I have. So now I also wanted to be like the student part of the student athlete. Like at first I was just there for sports, but now I was like, like half my time is like I'm really interested in this, and I found passion in something outside of like literally playing, which I think helped me just approach basketball in a more relaxed way, because it wasn't like life and death. It was just something that I enjoyed rather than the only thing that I had, if that makes sense.
No, that makes sense. Right now, I put a note up from my guy, Jody Clemens. He said, spiritual awakenings. Amen. Speaking to your point, Jody is a great guy here in Lansing, outstanding athlete. We share, we'll be forever bonded, right, Jody? Because my recent injury I was telling you about, I just ruptured my Achilles heel and come along fine. But it was Jody and I that were playing together. It was a great game, Battle of Warriors. And Jody has a unique experience, and it probably couldn't have been a better person I was involved with it with, because Jody played at the University of Indiana, played football there, was at the Detroit Lions, and we'll talk about, the London Lions in a second, but at the Detroit Lions, practice tryout, and he blew out his Achilles during that tryout. So I know that really resonated with Jody when you talk about this spiritual awakening, you talk about this new identity. And I would say pound for pound, Jody is probably one of the best trainers in the mid-Michigan area, if not the state of Michigan. Yeah, I'm bigging you up, Jody. You deserve that, helping kids. So I think it's important because we're kind of like touching on the things that are in the shadows now. You talk about that shadow conversation. And I like what you talked about when you came back to play and you had a different perspective. I even know for me, even with me going down and Jody and me not being able to participate in the great pickup runs that Jody is a part of, whatnot, because I have this, because I knew I was going to be talking to you soon, because I have my platform, because I can't play pickup ball, I'm not shattered. I'm not even, as I see my doctor next week, about an update, and I'm not even pressing him for when can I get healthy to get back out there, because that's not my point. But I think it's very important for individuals to hear what you're talking about, that even though you're not, you had your injuries and whatnot, you're still able to transition to a different part of the sport. Talk about a little bit about what your college experience was like, and then talk about what you're doing right now, because you're not just wearing some athletic gear, you're representing for the organizations you're affiliated with. So let's talk about college, and better yet, how about this? Here's one. Tell me what's going on in the pictures as we go. What's going on right here?
Yeah, so I played for Whitman College for most of my career. I actually transferred there as a reclassified sophomore. And
where's Whitman College at? That's out west, right? It's in Washington?
Yeah, that's in Washington. Yeah. In my first year there, honestly, like I couldn't have had like a better experience. We went, it could have been a little better if we would have won the national championship, but we ended up we went 31-1, and we lost in the national semifinals.
So you lost in the Final Four, basically.
Yeah, in the Final Four after going undefeated the whole year.
All right, Gonzaga.
yeah. Actually,
what's that? That's the Washington teams, man. What's going on, man?
I wanted them to win. I wanted them to win, but like a small part of me, I was talking with my teammates about it. It was like it almost made me feel like a little bit better that we also lost after going.
It was relatable. It's relatable,
Yeah, like it just proved that like it's just super tough, and so it made me feel a little better. But yeah, like we went undefeated until the Final Four. I personally probably played like some of the best basketball that I played like up until that point. I was like first team all conference and stuff. And it was just like it was just like a great year. We had like the private jets to the tournament games and stuff.
DJs to the games?
Yeah. Like I try to tell people like you don't have to play at like the high major Division I's to still get like a legitimate Division I experience, if that makes sense.
Let's stop there for a second, because I think that is definitely worth highlighting along with all the great things. I knew that there was going to be a lot of substance in us having this conversation if people paid attention. So you're saying you had an undefeated season, lost in the semis. Most people don't even make it that far. You got cut down the nets, flying private to the games. Talk about the PJ experience. I had a little private jet experience. Got a couple partners to do with PJ. So talk about the PJ experience.
Yeah, so I forget where we flew to originally, but I remember like it was a surprise. Like the coaches were like saying how like we tried to get like a private jet. We live in Walla Walla, which is like actually super hard to like travel.
Hard to navigate to. There's no easy way in and out.
Yeah, which I think helped our situation. But yeah, we're all like
help justify. Okay, this is probably what we have to do.
Yeah, like they earned it. They won like the conference. They won like the conference tournament.
Who paid for this? The conference or the school?
That's a great question. I want to say the school.
Okay.
But
probably had some donors behind that too.
Yeah, probably yes.
Oh, I love it.
We had a lot of support. Like all 3 years there, like we had like great support from alumni and like the Walla Walla community. Honestly, like a lot of our
Walla Walla, baby, Walla Walla, hold it down.
Yeah. Wine tasting like a country too. Like it's a solid little like hidden like spot in Washington for sure.
I also think it speaks to, and I know you talk about this private jet, it also speaks to so many young people get this D1 or bust attitude. And to be honest, Jody that was just on with us, he's probably still on now, he's a D1 athlete. You don't want them problems, meaning that some of the stuff you have to be naturally blessed and gifted, size, height, all those things, along with exposure. But I think so many people miss out because here you are telling me about your experience. And we're going to talk more about what you're doing now. I mean, the private jet, let me get back to that. But I just think people just need to really take in mind that here you are, Walla Walla, Washington, a community that's, well funded, that can support you and give you a great experience. But I'll let you keep talking more about that.
Yeah. It was just overall, like, solid, like, really great experience. Well, yeah, just we had a lot of support. We were top 3 or 4 team in the country, like, all 3 years I was there. So it was, like, highly competitive. It was just, like, a really good experience, and I try and just emphasize that to people, that, like, it's really not like you can achieve what you want to achieve no matter where you play. Like, no matter where you go to college, no matter where you go to university. Like, if you want to play at a professional level, you can. If you want that Division I experience, like, you can have that at any level if you play on a competitive team.
So what happened? The coaches came and said, "Hey, man, we go fly a PJ to the."
Oh yeah. We were on the bus, and we all thought, like, we were, like, for driving to the airport, but then, like, we took, like, a turn, and, like, next thing we know, we're in, like, this little, like, the smaller Walla Walla airport, and they're like, "Yeah, we're taking this private jet to the game," and we had it on the way home too. It was cool.
What they say, even though you lost, it was cool crying on a private jet, huh?
Yeah, like, instead of, like, losing and having to fly, like, 15 hours, like, we had a cool little flight on, like, a nice, like, private jet home. Like, it would have been a lot better if we would have won.
Where was the semifinals at?
So the first year, the Final Four was in Virginia.
Oh, so you guys had to fly across country?
Yeah. We played in the Elite Eight, and then we decided to just stay out there the week and then play in.
Oh, we just gonna stay out here for a whole week,
So I actually kind of forgot about that part until I was remembering. Yeah, we were out there the whole week, and we just, like, hung out as a team and just, like,
had some great experience. How long did it take you guys to get from Washington to Virginia?
Yeah, I wanted to say we stopped each way once, but I think it was, like, maybe, like, a 5-hour, like, journey altogether. Yeah.
Wow, man, sometimes it takes people 5 hours to go from Detroit to Florida on a plane, depending on how you're routed. Okay, I got another image. I want you to tell me about this image right here.
Oh yeah, so that was my senior night, actually, and that was actually a pretty, like, emotional night because I had in between. So the first year I was there, I told you I had, like, the great experience for first team all conference. We were undefeated to, like, the Final Four, and then so I trained all summer. I'm feeling great, and then, like, 2 weeks before, like, official practice starts, I start getting, like, knee pain to the point where, like, I can no longer really practice, let alone walk. And then I find out that I needed another knee surgery. So
wow,
I had knee surgery my second year there, sat out the whole year, rehabbed and stuff, and then came back for my senior year. And then that was my senior game, and I actually played, like, super well. I was performing pretty, like, inconsistently that year. I had, like, some, like, really good games, but also had some, like, not so good games. And my senior night, actually, I played, like, super well. I had, like, 13 points in the first half, and I remember that, like, my team was, like, struggling a little bit, and we hadn't lost a conference game in, like, 3 years. And so, like, we were, like, struggling a little bit, we were losing, and I was able to, like, help offensively mostly. And it was nice. Yeah. So I remember I had, like, a really good game, and that's my mom next to me. And it was
shout out your mom. What's your mom's name?
Joanne Harrison.
Joanne. Shout out Joanne. Shout out to you. Mom was there. She looks happy as she can be.
Yeah, it was nice. She was able to make it out, and it was just, like, a little emotional because, like, my dad wasn't able to be there just because, everything that went on. So it was just it was a good day. It was a good game, a good day, and we won.
Awesome.
We won.
I bet.
Yeah.
So talk about what's going on with you now. You talk about game day. I see. Shout out to the Barking Abbey crew. They were all over Twitter, man, shouting you out. Your coaches and friends, man. It seemed like it's a real good thing. So tell me what's going on with you now and what this international experience was like for you, particularly in the United Kingdom and London.
Yeah. So I originally came out to London to get my master's and play professionally. I got my master's in sports psychology, and then I was playing with the University of East London as part of like my scholarship, like a contract thing for my master's. And then now this year I'm playing for Barking Abbey, and it's like an interesting situation because the team's kind of young. I'm like one of the older guys on the team.
Oh, you're the veteran out there, huh?
Yeah. Like I'm the vet on this specific team because it's kind of it's hard to explain how it works, how like this particular program works, but it's kind of like prep school in the States, if that makes sense. So it's like this specific team is like mainly young guys, and like the point of it is to try and get them opportunities to play in Europe or to go get scholarships in the States. And so I come in as like a vet, and I'm just here to like lead and take like just be an example, a role model, help out in ways that like just like young guys that just don't have the experience. So I'm here to like just help out, show them like what to do, how to handle like late game pressure, stuff like that.
Right. How often do those opportunities occur where there are individuals like you that come in as a more seasoned player to help with that? Is that something that occurs often in a lot of these type of programs?
Yeah. So in our league, to like my knowledge, we're one of the only teams that like kind of works this way. Most of them are like older guys. Most of the team is on like paid professional like level guys. And so our team and like one of the other teams, it just works in a different way. So it's not that I don't think it's that common. And to be honest, I wasn't sure exactly how much I was gonna like it at first, but like after a couple of weeks, I really like just bought in, to the idea. As somebody that's interested in like mental health and like helping others, I thought it was actually like a really cool opportunity to play with younger guys and hopefully leave them in a better state than they came in. Hopefully, whether it was on the court or off the court, hopefully I was able to be impactful in one way or another.
Well, I think the message that comes out of this, man, is that the universe will make a way for you. So to any person who's listening, you have to understand that no one has a traditional path. There's almost no such thing. And to be embraced by a program like the one you're working with right now, Barking Abbeys, that is, Abbey basketball, and for this thing to kind of just work out specifically for you, you're still able to have this international experience. I know based on your mom, you have ties to London, so you're able to be there and be able to contribute and have some meaning. But also shout out the London Lions. I know you're affiliated with them as well.
Yeah, so that's the team that I currently work for in like a player development role. I'm like I work like right underneath like the head player development coach. And yeah, so I went home briefly when like COVID hit, and I was trying to figure out ways in which I could come back out here, whether it was like playing or working. And just through my network, I was able to figure out a way where I could play for Barking Abbey and also work for the London Lions. And so it was really just like a win-win situation because I was able to continue my like professional career, but I was also able to get my foot in the door and just start to learn how like professional programs work, how they're run, how player development coaches work. And it's been a super nice experience. And player development is something else that I'm super passionate about. We talked a little bit about it last time, but what I want to do with like my overall career is just like open a gym or a facility and be able to do player development stuff as well as sports psychology and mental training stuff. And so just being able to have this experience, like working underneath the player development coach on such a high like profile team. Honestly, yeah. At my age,
well, let me set the stage, because I tell all my clients and everyone I work with that language is everything. So let's say it like this. I can't wait to get on a private jet to come to your facility to do another interview when you talk about this great concept you have of player development along with sports psychology that you're just creating with everything that you're doing. I think you just summed it all up, Jason, that these people need to know that if you have a dream and you're ambitious, that it can work its way out. And I like what you're talking about, this life after basketball, because you're still putting in the work. To some, it may not be sexy, but for you and guys like me, it's everything, because you're doing what you love. You're creating a way. And I think so many of our young people, Jase, they get this attitude. And I use Michigan State basketball as an example because I cover them. I work with them. I spend a lot of time with them. They feel that they don't get recruited by Coach Tom Izzo, Coach John Calipari, or whoever it may be, Juwan Howard. They don't get recruited by them and go there, that everything's for naught. But what you're just showing is that, man, just love those that love you, go where the opportunity is, and continue to fight. And if you really care about this sport that you're in, if you really think about that, think about how you can bring more value. And I think you're a great representation of that. Before we get ready to get out of here, just talk about how mental toughness has played a role in your life and everything you got going on and everything that you're doing right now. Because I think that is one of the things we want to discuss, how important mental toughness is as well as mental health.
Yeah, so that's something, mental toughness as like a concept is super interesting to me. And it played a role into like my research in the fact that like it rose the question is if like mental health and mental toughness, are they like contradictory like concepts? Like, can you be mentally tough but also like struggle with your mental health? Like, you know what I mean? And that's something that I feel like people who think that, you know, asking or like seeking support or opening up about like mental health stuff shows like a weakness when it comes to mental toughness. And I think that that's something that it's starting to change, but I feel like the stigma behind mental health, I feel like that plays a large role in mental toughness as well. And I feel like that stigma needs to switch, because I feel like I personally think that I'm one of the most like mentally tough people that I know. I feel like just from my experience from when I was younger and the things that I've been through and overcome, and the fact that I'm still playing professional basketball after my last surgery, when they told me that I probably wouldn't be able to play anymore, and the fact that like I'm getting a master's when I come from a family where education isn't really something that they do. I'm a first generation college graduate, and I feel like that even though I struggled with my mental health on and off throughout my career, and how I'll probably still struggle with my mental health on and off throughout the rest of my life, I just feel like that makes me more mentally tough. I feel like people that are able to like overcome adversity and overcome obstacles, and they reach out for help and they say, hey, like I need support right now, like that makes you more mentally tough than just like suffering on your own, or just like thinking that like I can do it all on my own. Because I mean, maybe some people can, like maybe you will, but it's not as healthy for one. And you can make your life easier by just, you know, like opening up. And I feel like just mental health and mental toughness, I feel like they kind of have contradictory tones, when in reality, like mentally tough people struggle with their mental health, but they're just able to, you know, keep pushing and keep overcoming.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, that's so well put. I just think to simplify that is not to simplify the issue, but people look at people who struggle with their mental health as being weak. But when you reach out, I think that's more of a sign of strength.
Yeah.
So I started this conversation. I would talk about how courageous, you are, that you said, hey, I got some things going on. And rightfully so. You dealt with the trauma of your dad passing. You dealt with the knee surgery, all these things. And I think as people listen to this message, Jase, they're going to be like, wow, I had such and such happen in my life. I dealt with that. I dealt with this. So, wow, I have reason to need to look inward and seek help. And I've been thinking about a spiritual awakening and gonna kind of taking a certain walk and looking at things differently. But I just think it's so many things that are right in front of us, Jase, that prevent us from taking that step. And sometimes it's about changing your relationships. It's about, for lack of a better term, say moving your chi, you know what I'm saying, or whatever it may be, or just saying, okay, what can I do? But I just want to thank you, man, for one, reaching out in the sense that you put that poster board out there with ASP, and I was able to see that, and then being so receptive when I reached out. And I just really feel, man, that somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to benefit from this message. So before we wrap up, man, is there anyone you want to kind of shout out and thank? I know you got to be careful not to start shouting out people, because somebody's like, man, why you didn't say me? But definitely want to give you the last moments, Jase, to be able to just share your final thoughts about any people, any organization, or just any final thoughts you have, because I think we've touched on so many great things. I want people to be able to look at this and look at the amount of time this interview is and say, let me take a moment and listen. And I think they're going to do some great things based on what you share. So I'll give you the final comments.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like to, shout out my family. Of course, they've supported me the whole way, and they continue to support me. My mom especially, she still texts me every day, asking how I am. She texts me after all my games. She texts me before all my games, even with the time difference. She makes sure she's on it. So I have to always thank my mom. And I think I would like to also just shout out just the teammates that I've had over the years. I know for me, some of my teammates have been the most impactful people in my life. And I feel like that's pretty common for athletes who just play sports their entire life. They make such close relationships with their teammates. I feel like people should take advantage of the opportunity that you have to network and build these relationships with people who after college, you're all going to go your separate ways, but you'll stay in touch and you'll be able to connect. And whether it's working with each other or bouncing ideas off each other, or just advice, or just anything. I know I still talk to teammates from both of the colleges that I went to. I talked to teammates from last year, my teammates this year. I couldn't be happier with just the teammates that I've had in my life. So I like to shout out just the teammates I've had and my family, especially my mom.
Oh, man, shout out, man. I appreciate it. I just feel deep in my heart, deep in my soul, man, that there's more to this message, and somebody's going to be positively impacted. I'm positively impacted by it by just having a chance to talk to you. So with that, we got Jase Harrison representing. We'll make sure that we stay in touch. We'll keep checking in with you. Can't wait to land that PJ and come check out your facility. You're like, hey, man, this is my place.
I'm excited. I have ideas. I'm ready to see them manifest.
That's right. And we're going to manifest our destiny, no doubt. So with that, this is Lindsey Ellison with SPS. Check us out at TheSPSEdge on YouTube, the Sports Psychology Solutions on Facebook, as well as Lindsey Huddleston on Facebook as well. And finally, the TheSPSEdge on Instagram. And this will be available via video on all those things, including H Solutions One, that is SPS Edge on Twitter. And they'll be seeing your face some more, Jase.
Sounds good. I appreciate you having me.
No, happy to have you. Take care. Now you can get some rest now.
Yeah, I'll get some sleep.
Okay, peace.